All right, it looks like we are streaming live on Facebook. So, welcome everyone. I'm just thrilled to be here again and celebrate another one of our authors and another collection coming out into the world. We're here to celebrate Sarah Rose Nordgren's new chapbook, The Creation Museum, with all of you tonight. And I want to say thank you to Anja, the artist, who did a beautiful cover art for us, and to Claire, the designer who designed the cover and the interior, and again to the whole just Harbor team who helps and supports all of us, me especially, through all of this. Every time I introduce a new Harbor Editions author, I am a little bit shocked that these amazing writers and humans are willing to let me publish their work. I definitely feel a little like I get to work with celebrities all the time, and a kid in a poetry candy store, and Sarah Rose is no exception to that. The moment that I read this collection, I knew I had to publish it immediately. I couldn't let it slip between my fingers. The Creation Museum is hybrid in a way I've never experienced. It's seamless, and I have learned so much from this work as a writer. Just the experience of editing it has helped my own work, and I just am so grateful to Sarah Rose for working with me and teaching me through this collection. As a reader, you somehow just don't even notice as the book transitions from essay to photography to flash to poetry, because it feels so much a whole. The Creation Museum is a museum, and Sarah Rose is our guide. She writes, to create a human is no small matter. And this collection is no small matter to me, and I think to all of you. In addition to writing this amazing collection, Sarah Rose is also an amazing human being and has been so patient, so kind, so giving, and just so wonderful to work with. I am absolutely thrilled to welcome Sarah Rose tonight.
Thank you so much, Allison. Yeah, I was gonna give a big thank you to you for finding the collection, for understanding it, for recognizing it, and for taking such good care of it along the way through all of the ups and downs of real lives that we continue to live. And just like being so supportive and flexible about, what I want, and also being an amazing editor, which, was like, I don't want to act like that's a surprise. It's not a surprise about Allison. It's just a surprise in general, because I feel like it's rare to feel like one's work is being taken such good care of, like down to the comma level. So super grateful, and grateful to all of you guys for being here this evening, because I also know that schedules are busy, and I myself have trouble. I don't get to go to all the Zoom readings that I want to attend and support all the writers that I want to support. So I do really appreciate people's time. And because I appreciate people's time, I will go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to read a few pieces from the book, and I won't do a lot of introducing of them. And I'm also going to I promised on my Facebook post about this reading, I promised 2 worms. And so I'm going to try to fulfill that promise and read a small excerpt from the central essay. There's a central essay in the book that's more of a full-length essay. And because I'm a poet, I don't have a lot of experience excerpting longer pieces for readings. So I just picked a couple pages of that. When I get there, I'll try to set it up a little bit for you. But I'm going to start with a prose poem called Territory. This week in dreams, my body is multiple, doubled, quadrupled, or more. In one, I glance down at my breasts to find orioles arrayed with 4 nipples each. Below that, 5 fingers grow from my crotch. That was the first dream. Since then, territories have been overlapping. All day, I move in and out of sidewalk squares, perforated courtyards, rhombuses of sound. Dog noses trace the perimeters. One night, you wake me from what you think is nightmare, the usual catch in my voice, but I'm actually dreaming of sex. Me, a butterfly with 3,000 eyes, and you, steel pin, affixing me to the board. Sleepily, I confess, I am willing to die for science. Meanwhile, each cell splits and proliferates, expectant only of itself. About last night, I tell you it was like sun angled through a grated church window, tattooing light and shade across my skin. I was thinking of the shapes as territories, bowers inside of which birds could make their stand and sing. The next piece I'm going to read is called On Stillness. And it's a story. It's kind of a little story. On stillness. The man was ailing. In fact, he knew he was close to death. As he lay in the bed the nurses had installed in his living room, the heart monitor and oxygen machines giving off a web of soft light like a private humming city, what he thought must be memory projected itself in his mind on a continuous reel. Many years before, the man had a job as an art conservator at a famous museum. Night after night, he was tasked with painting and repainting the bodies of various sea creatures in the Hall of Ocean Life, which was a wide corridor of room-sized dioramas populated by full-scale tuna, cetaceans, corals, rays, and other aquatic animals. And so he lived for years, crawling and kneeling under low roofs of textured plastic, pressed to look like the troubled surface of the sea. He could feel now the way his neck would become stiff from sitting on the turquoise floor and craning his head up to paint a fish's golden scales with a delicate brush. At times, his hand holding the brush would cramp sharply, and he would have to put his implement down and stretch his fingers open like a starfish. He worked at night when the crowds had gone, and the only other souls left in the museum were a few patrolling security guards scattered through the building's many wings, walking their solitary paths. And in the hall, only the slight stick of the man's bare feet on the ocean floor, the silent brush on the belly of a fish that needed retouching due to light exposure, the pleasure of life organized and frozen in its compartments. The man remembered how, by day, he slept on a cot in a flat he shared with a friend, blue handkerchief tied over his eyes to block the sun. Or, more often, he slept on a pallet in a secret circular room in the very heart of the museum, his rhythmic breathing radiating out through the walls. When he often dreamed of thirst, a primal deprivation. Once he dreamed of a snake-necked seabird removing, one by one with her needle beak, an endless series of pearl buttons from deep inside his throat. Tonight, he is back in the museum in the city, neither of which he can now name. But this time, he is growing still while the fish, turtles, crabs, and octopi stir, suddenly and haltingly at first, then smoothly, like a videotape that has been paused too long and begins playing again on its own, indifferent to whether anyone is left in the room. Okay, so I realize that that last image relies on people's memory of what playing a videotape used to be like, which, you know, maybe not all of you have experienced. So I'm now going to read an excerpt from the essay, and I'm just going to read about 2 pages of it, so not very long. Might as well take this opportunity to show you the pretty book. This is the pretty book. And there's pictures inside. Here's a tube worm. So I guess all you need to know, I'm starting not at the beginning of the essay. All you really need to know is that, well, the woman's being introduced here. What's happened in the essay up to this point is that I've set up the idea that science is a list, or the history of science is a list of moments when people changed their minds about the world. And so there's examples of that, about how discoveries in science have changed people's minds about the world. And one of the things that was discovered not until 1977 was chemosynthesis, was these creatures that live on the ocean floor that survive off chemosynthesis, which is a process by which the bacteria at the bottom of the food chain convert toxic chemicals such as hydrogen sulfide and methane into carbohydrates, so that they don't need photosynthesis. And there's these tube worms called the Riftia pachyptilla, and there may be scientists out there who can correct my pronunciation of that. And they have this kind of like sexual appearance. So that's what you need to know. Attracted by the hermaphroditic appearance of the tube worms, a young woman stands at a forearm's length from a panel of display glass in the summer of 2006. She snaps photos of the Riftia pachyptilla colony that seems to reach and bend in the water, but is in fact a reproduction painted painstakingly by the museum's diorama artists. Before her, the tube worms reach out and up in a disorganized throng, while a couple of pasty and muscular eelpout fish wend their way through the forest of bodies, eyes black and dull as lentils. The young woman's reaction to the tube worms is complicated. On the one hand, she feels disturbed. There is a shamelessness to them, the way they expose themselves, like infants or flowers, but grotesque for all to see. Also, they have a disembodied quality, as if a serial killer or mad scientist has drawn back a curtain to reveal his collection of human genitalia. On the other hand, the woman feels a discernible yet unspecified excitement, a charge produced from seeing these specific creatures on this specific day. Zooming in here, we observe her prepare to take another photograph. Her arms raise the camera to her face. The skirt of her red dress stops moving for a moment as she stills herself for the click, and afterwards shift her weight to her other foot, paused as if waiting for time to start up again, for the diorama to come back to life. Since she is our subject, we might logically ask, is the young woman in the red dress sexually excited by the diorama of tube worms? The way she lingers before this display, as opposed to any of the impressive others in the Hall of Ocean Life, has its own shamelessness to it. But perhaps the word innocence will do here. Analyzing her 3 digital photographs of the Riftia pachaptilla as evidence, we learn that the young woman is not at all concerned with documenting the helpful information that appears on the plaque to the left in bold Helvetica typeface. Not one of her images even includes the portion of the plaque that identifies the animal's name, despite that she could have incorporated this seemingly crucial information with only a 5-degree change in the angle of photographs number 1 and 2, which show an approximately 1/2 meter swath of the tube worms with a horizontal and vertical camera orientation respectively, in addition to the right edges of the 2 informational plaques. The 3rd photograph is up close and blurry. In it, one worm's obturaculum curves toward the camera wantingly, like an orchid. There it is. there it is, curving wantingly like an orchid. That's all I'm going to read from that essay, but I just wanted to give you a little taste of it. Now I'm going to read 3 just fairly regular length shorter poems, just to give you a sense of what's coming. This one is called Blessing, and it's dedicated to anyone in the audience who is a mother or is a motherish person. Blessing. To all the mothers, I cover you with flowers. Through the lonely black hours, I cover bite marks on your knees, your shoulders, lay petals over imprints of tiny crooked teeth. When your eyes roll back like planets, mothers, in half sleep, time measured by coffee going cold, I cover you with flowers. For those whose milk came in while scrubbing floors, soaked through cotton or solidified to aching fists, I cover you. Milk in your coffee, milk like cum on your thighs. The want undoes your stitches, and I cover. When milk blossoms through pads, through bandages, I cover it. Mothers buttoning blouses covered in pink flowers like pinpricks, hair oily but brushed. I see you there. I cover the skin, too hot for you to touch, the breaths loud as generators, as screams from the belly of your dreams. After the accident, in silence at the breakfast table, I cover. When you can't be still, when your feet wear tracks on the green rug and you may as well have paced the earth, I cover your path with flowers. And when you can't move, mothers, I also cover you. You with your nipple clamped in a vise of pearls. Okay. I wonder if you all can hear my spouse chopping peppers in the other room right now. I can hear it. Okay. Allison, shake your head no. Okay. He's making pepper relish of some kind. Okay. 2 more poems. This one's called Making a Baby, and I'll just make a little do a little setup for this one, which is that I wrote this poem kind of in response to the long-standing literary trope of poems being like babies, or you even hear people say it like, oh, I gave birth to this book, or etc. Even going back to the days of Anne Bradstreet, it's been a writerly trope, especially for women. So anyway, I was responding to that here. Making a baby. Making a baby is not like making a poem, though it's true they both conform unbidden. True that the world is required. Think of it this way. You can get a good start, but you can't dredge up a whole baby on a winter morning when struck by a mood. Also, while both are known to approach the light head first, a baby's head is larger, domed and mute as a sponge pudding. And unlike verse, which parades across the white in a trail of singing ants, the infant is discreet. She keeps her alphabet tucked deep inside her veins, a shiv in the sleeve. Of the one, you can make many, of the other, probably few. In both cases, you will feel as if a shining fish were lodged in your throat and will beg for the sharpest hook to retrieve it. All right, I'm going to read one more poem, and thank you all again for being here. Yeah, and thank Allison again, and everyone at Harbor Editions for making this happen. This last poem is called Wild Animals. Oh, and Happy New Moon. I forgot to say that to everyone. Happy New Moon. Wild Animals. My friends and I are like the streetlight made wild by shining on a fox who hunts for fruit and lizards in the night. Like purple bedroom curtains blasted through, river using the rocky banks and trees as a projection screen, or the orange glow of space heater coils. I have a wildfire in my skin, which my friends help cool by rubbing ice cubes on my back, releasing knife blade rivulets that soak into the waistband of my skirt. My heart is wild for you and harbors a wild jealousy of your cat, who I believe you would allow to eat your body if you die, rather than letting me consume it, smiling redly in my grief. But I am far wilder than the cat. My love is viciouser and more soft. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah Rose, just for everything. I know lots of thank yous tonight, back and forth, but it truly has been just a pleasure to work with you and to get to immerse myself in your book so fully. Thank you all for joining us tonight on Facebook Live, and please follow us on all the social medias because we have some just amazing books coming out for the rest of this year and next year, and hopefully for a long time to come if folks keep sending us their work. Again, thank you, everyone, and we will see you in August.